Hello, everyone. My name is Roland Dupre, and this is Meet the Authors at East Hartford Public Library, the Zoom version. Our first author is Vanessa Kelman. Vanessa has written a variety of works, from novels to websites and everything in between. Her passion lies in what she calls self-help fiction, in which characters confront their struggles to change their lives for the better. Her published Fate trilogy falls into this genre, and she has other novels in the works. I'm going to share my screen right now and show you some of the pictures that of her books. So this is Chase.
There you go.
There it is, A Life You Want. Let me get bigger. and here's Accepting Fate, Tempting Fate, Chasing Fate. Yeah. So I'm going to stop the share there, and we can speak to Vanessa. Thank you. Go ahead, Vanessa.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me here today, Roland. I'm happy to be here. So again, my name is Vanessa Kelman. I am a resident of East Hartford, and I've been writing my entire life. When I was a kid, I started writing stories, and it just kind of grew from there. As I got older, I didn't really do anything with them, with anything that I had written, but the passion was always there. I always just have this fascination with the written word. I love to read, love to write. So I decided, you know what, let's go for it. So I actually wrote my first novel, which was Chasing Fate. And I wrote it at work. Should I admit that? At the time, I was at a job that had a lot of downtime, and they didn't want us to bring books or other things there, but we had email. So I actually started writing this via email to myself. And it started with a story starter and grew from there. So as it progressed, I started kind of noticing a trend in what I've written. As Roland had indicated, I coined this genre self-help fiction. And really, it's because the characters in my books are confronting things that they're not happy with in their lives. And it could be career struggles, or it could be personal relationship struggles. It could be pretty much anything. There are a variety of different challenges that the characters face. And they're all at that point of, I'm not happy, so how can I kind of turn things around a little bit? So they're all about their journeys as they turn things around and really confront the things that are making them unhappy, so that they can move forward in their lives and make their lives something that they're happy with. And that actually brings me to the fourth book, which was A Life You Want. This is the one thing I wrote and published that is nonfiction, at least book length, that is nonfiction. And I'll give you a little backstory on that as well. When I turned 30, and I know 30 is not old, especially these days, but I felt like I hadn't accomplished anything. Felt like I was failing basically in all areas of my life. I was married, but I was having trouble having a child. I hadn't accomplished anything in terms of a career. I didn't even know what I wanted to do for a living. I had written my first book. At that point, I had written the first book, and I was trying to find an agent, trying to find a publisher, and nobody felt strongly enough about it. They weren't negative about it. They're just like, we just don't feel strongly enough to do anything with this. So I was just at a kind of low point. So when I turned 30, I took it hard. But I started doing a lot of self-reflection, and I was like, I am still young. I have a lot of life left in me, and I can do better than this. So I decided to take charge of my life, and just like the characters in my books, to really do something, to bring myself out of that unhappiness, to accomplish the things that I really hope to accomplish in my life. So along the way, I picked up a lot of tips and ideas and just a lot of information as I was going, a lot of personal experiences that helped me along the way, things that I should not have done or should have done, or, just learning experiences as you go, as we all do. So I decided to blog about them. And I actually ended up with two blogs. One was personal, kind of charting my journey as I was creating the life that I wanted. And then the other one was a more objective blog that was giving information, tips, and resources that I had learned along the way to try to help other people get the lives that they wanted. And I called it A Life You Want, because the idea is that you take your struggles and get all this information and resources and experiences and create a life that you want. So the website is actually still in existence. It's alifeyouwant.com, easy enough. And while I have not added to the blog, it is still up there. And there's also a variety of resources and links that can help anyone who is interested take charge of their lives and hopefully turn things around and create the lives that they want. And I broke it down into several different categories: health, relationships, money, etc., so that no matter what you are interested in learning about or taking charge of, hopefully you'll find some tips and resources that will help you. So Roland had kind of indicated that I have the different categories available as books. So what I ended up doing is, after I published the full book, what I did was I took the first year of blog posts and converted it into a book. But I realized after I had published that book that maybe people don't want everything. They don't want all the information about all the different topics. So I actually released ebooks that focused on the individual subjects. So if you're just interested in taking charge of your relationships, then you can just get the ebook focused on relationships. And it still has information, to get you started, but then it focuses the resources on more of that particular category. And then if you don't have a particular category that you're struggling with and you just need that kind of kick in the pants to get you going, I have one that's just planning and motivation that just really helps you get motivated to start to get your life, on track, get where you want it to be. So it's a lot of information. But in any case, so that was A Life You Want. That's the nonfiction one that is a bit of a self-help to help you turn things around in your own life and get you where you want to be. And then the three novels that are that self-help fiction genre are Chasing Fate. And then the second one is Accepting Fate. And the third one is called Tempting Fate. And these will all be available at the library soon. They are also available in Glastonbury. And of course, you can also purchase them online. You can visit my website at vanessakelman.com to find information about all of those. They kind of relate to each other. They're a bit kind of spin-offs. So Chasing Fate, we meet Melanie and Bobby. And then Accepting Fate is a friend of Bobby's. Her name is Mary. And then also someone that she knows, Kelly. And then the third one goes into somebody that Mary knows, Jackie, and Paul, who she works with. So kind of spin-offs of each other. They can be read individually. They do reference previous characters. So if that makes any sense, hopefully. So I wanted to just kind of give you a little bit of information here. Well, not information. I want to read a little bit, rather, to give you an idea of my style and give you a little teaser, hopefully strike some interest in there. And just as a side note, I mentioned that I started this book from a story prompt. So I was like, okay, I would like to write something, but I didn't have any ideas at that point. And that often happens to me. So I had a bunch of story starter books. Any writer probably has amassed many writing books. And one of the prompts that I just happened to turn to was write about an inanimate object. So I selected a ring, and you'll recognize that as I start the story. Chapter 1. Melanie rubbed the worn metal between her fingers as she watched the dreary landscape fly by. "Remember forever," he had said when he slipped the ring into her hand and kissed her goodbye, as if she could forget. "I'll be back before you know it," he had assured her. 2 years away and we'll be set. I'll get a great job and we'll buy a house. Everything will be perfect, Mel, I promise." Then he slipped a thin silver band into her hand. "I promise, Mel, remember forever." It had been their word, attached to everything that had meaning. I love you forever. We'll be together forever. We'll be happy forever. Then he had gone away to war, and she was trapped in a depression that seemed to last forever. After 6 months, her parents had convinced her to go away to school, to try to bring her back into the realm of the living. And she had eventually moved past forever into the present, filled with classes and parties and falling in love. She was engaged by the time Brian had come home from the army. It had been 15 years, 2 husbands, and a lifetime since she had last seen Brian. Now she was racing back toward him, and she couldn't help but wonder if he remembered their promise. It had hovered in the back of her mind since Brian had last held her. She had been young and naive then, and he had been her knight in shining armor. After heartache and failure, she wondered if he might be again. Tires squealed to a stop, and Melanie was startled to find that she had fallen asleep. The world outside her window had grown dark, but the lit up sign near the station indicated she had arrived at her destination. Stretching, she grabbed her purse and duffel bag and dragged herself out of the bus and onto the pavement. Her mother was supposed to meet her and take her home. Home. It was strange to think of the Cape Cod style house that she had grown up in as home. Her latest home was a studio apartment in the Bronx, which she had shared with her second husband until he had decided to leave her 8 months ago. But now she would spend the foreseeable future in her childhood bedroom, eating her mother's comfort food and catching up with the only man who had ever really loved her. Barbara's Honda Accord was waiting by the entrance to the bus station. Melanie climbed in and they drove off in silence. After a few minutes, Barbara broke the silence. So how have you been? Barbara's eyes never left the road. Melanie shrugged. Okay, I guess, as well as can be expected. Barbara glanced at Melanie, then turned back to the road. How long are you staying? I have no idea. Well, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. You always have been. Don't start, Mom. I'm just saying, we wish we saw you more often. You were welcome to visit me more often, too. I know, but you know your father and I were never comfortable in the city, and I wasn't comfortable here. Barbara shrugged. This has always been your home. I know, Melanie sighed. I'm sorry. Barbara sneaked another glance at Melanie. We've missed having you around, Melanie. I know. I didn't mean to not come back. It just happened. He moved on too. It took a little longer, but he did. You could have come back. I didn't want to come back a failure. I wanted to show how great I was doing. And now look at me, worse than ever. Melanie rested her chin on one hand as she gazed at the shadows of trees blurring by. Tears clung to her eyelashes. Barbara patted Melanie's knee. You're not a failure, Melly. You just had a rough time of things. You'll see. Life will turn around now. The rest of the trip passed by in silence, and the shadows turned to complete darkness as Melanie's eyes drifted shut. I will stop you there. I don't want to keep going on, but hopefully that gave you a little teaser of what the book has to offer. And like I said, all about changing lives. And you can see that Melanie has a lot of things to kind of overcome from her past. So hopefully you would enjoy the rest of the book, and I encourage you to pick it up.
And a lot of these, can you talk about the different sort of challenges that the characters come to? Because I was reading the descriptions on Amazon, and there was one about change, how hard change is. Is that
Yes, I think that was probably Jackie. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, I think we have a child in there.
Sorry, my daughter was knocking on the door, so I had to
Oh.
pause for a moment.
We've
But
had other
anyway.
interruptions in this show before.
Yes, I remember from the videos for the first session. But yes, the character, one of the main characters in the third book, Tempting Fate, her name is Jackie. And she is probably the one that you're referring to that you saw. Her struggle is that she's a very introverted person, to the extent that it kind of has affected her life, and she hasn't really been able to open up her shell, to really expand in her life. And so she's kind of isolated. She belongs to like a book club, but that's pretty much the only interaction with other people socially she has. So it's really about her kind of coming out of her shell and learning, hey, maybe there's more to life than this. And that comes about when she meets somebody named Paul, who works at who is the nephew of the doctor that she works for. She's a receptionist in a doctor's office. So he kind of helps bring her out of her shell, and she finds that there's a lot that she likes to experience, that she wants to really experience life.
She's motivated. She's
Yes, she's
motivated.
motivated. Yep. And she learns a lot about herself in the process, which is, I think we can all say, as experiences go, you really learn a lot about yourself as you go along.
Yeah, that's the message I get a lot from these books too, is just in terms of reading the descriptions. It's like you're going to go on this journey with these characters and sort of confront your own foibles and your own issues, right? That may
Yeah.
or yeah. So it's kind of a neat idea to bring the reader along that way. And you said you've been writing all your life. I want to tell people that maybe I don't think it's a secret that you're a librarian. Is that a secret?
I am a librarian. No, it's not a secret.
And
Yes, I am a
here it
librarian.
is, like, yeah, in public saying it's a secret. But, part of your whole work with the nonfiction book is comprising these resources and links. Now, did you write that before you became a librarian, or did that inspire you to
Yes,
become a
quite a
librarian?
bit, quite
Oh,
a ways before I became a librarian, actually. I did not decide I wanted to be a librarian until probably 6 or 7 years after that book was published.
oh, wow.
So yeah, so I was still in the process of trying to figure out what I wanted to do as a career. So I guess it was just part of me. The interesting part about being a librarian is that I have found that all of the little bits and pieces of my life, because I've had a lot of different careers, a lot of different jobs and things along the way. And I find them all kind of coming together. And one of them has been, wanting to help people, and that desire to really get people what they need, the resources and information that they need.
There
I
you go.
tried sales. Yeah, I tried
We're
sales for a
doing it.
little while and I didn't succeed because I wanted to give everything away for free. It just so the librarian is perfect because I connect them with the resource and I don't need to make them pay for it. It's awesome. So it works out very well for me.
Well, thank you, and I wish you luck with this endeavor.
Thank you.
And it's obviously you were born to be a librarian, as well
I
as
guess
a
so.
writer, right?
There's
Um,
lots of little bits and parts of me, and
yeah,
I'm finally coming into where I'm supposed to be.
yeah, that's for sure. It is a conjunction, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.